Let's audit a startup. Welcome to the Startup Audit, where we audit your good ideas and help turn them into great businesses by looking at the problem you're solving, the solution, and how it differs from the rest of your competition, as well as the opportunity in the market. We give those things scores. At the end, we give you insights on whether we think you should build it, pivot on it, or pass on it. So without further ado, let's get into our very first startup idea submission. This comes from Jake. And the idea reads, his message reads, "Hey Thomas, I've been building a project called Hackerstack over the last few months, and I think it could make for an interesting audit. The idea came from my own frustration trying to keep up with all the new AI tools launching every day. It feels like every founder newsletter and Twitter thread is recommending a different stack, and most directories are either bloated or clearly affiliate farms. Hackerstack is basically a curated AI tool directory specifically for indie hackers and small startup teams. Instead of just listing tools, we try to categorize them by actual use case, pricing, and whether they're genuinely useful for bootstrapped founders. Long term, I'd like it to become the go-to stack resource for people building online businesses." He provided his website and then goes on to say, "The biggest thing I'm struggling with is defensibility. At the end of the day, it is still a directory, and I'm trying to figure out whether this could realistically become a business or if it's just SEO traffic with no moat." Would love to hear honest thoughts, Jake. Awesome. So first thing that jumps out at me is I feel like this is right up my alley. So I'm super excited. Thank you, Jake, for submitting this. I've been in the same exact situation. I have been building a product, a platform, etc., trying to figure out what I need to do next and what tool is going to work best for that, not only for my price point and where I'm at now in my journey, but hopefully down the road that's going to support thousands and hundreds of thousands and ideally millions of users, right? I didn't know exactly what was next. So I understand the pain point. Let's go right into your website and see what that is looking like. All right, so I got your website pulled up here. It looks nice. I like the simple hero, the bold colors, all that looks great. Scroll down a little bit. I did notice though, one of the things that jumps out to me is the number of reviews. So personally, if I'm listening to what you said, you want to be the go-to spot that people go to figure out what tools are going to be the best and why. 10 reviews is not, in my opinion, going to cut that. I don't think that people are going to look at 10 reviews and be like, oh, wow, there's a lot of people that provide credibility here, all 10 of them. No, that I would just omit that until you have enough reviews to put that number when you have the clout to say, yeah, I got thousands and thousands of reviews. Like that's when it's going to be worth putting in. But for the time being, I'd probably just omit that. With that said, I'd go ahead. Let's look at these tools. So like you said in your email that you have them categorized by type. So we got coding, we got design, we got data analytics. Then we have the costs and things like that. If I click into one, I can see an overview of it, some of the key features and rating, but I'm not seeing any backing behind what that rating is. I don't see any actual review. So I'm wondering where those are. And then the other thing that jumped out to me was I saw ChatGPT here, which if people don't know what ChatGPT is, they probably have no business dealing with your tool or any tools like that to begin with. They should just start with a simple Google search and what the best AI tool is ever. But it looks like you have an affiliate link, which I'm kind of confused there just because you said that the other ones are clearly affiliate farms. I want to see how you're going to separate yourself from that statement. But overall, I think the website looks good. It's very easy to see like how things are categorized and which things are going to do what when you're coming here to look for a tool to solve your specific needs. So I think that's cool. Kudos to you on the website. Now let's get into the scorecard for the startup audit. So I'm again going to look at three core things. That's the problem, the solution, and the opportunity. Now the problem, like I said previously, I understand this problem through and through. I've been in situations multiple times where I am trying to figure out what's the best tool to fill in this specific gap of my project that I need help with. I think more and more people are going to be in that boat as these tools become more accessible and people get more comfortable and ambitious with trying them out and building their own products. I've already seen it quite a bit in internal companies, them trying to ditch SaaS tools that they're paying for and saying if they can't just build it internally, even if they're not a dev shop, to solve only their needs. It only has to be good enough for them to use internally. And so I think the problem is there. They're going to be coming up to these roadblocks of, okay, we got this done. Now, how do we connect it or how do we lift it out of our local environment into the real world and let people access it from wherever they're at? Those are situations that they're going to need some information like this for. So I think the problem is there. Now, I'm going to give that a score of a 9. I think it's a decent problem. You can't continue building without knowing what it is to build on or build with. So I think it's a solid problem. And again, I have my own emotional and real life attachment to this issue. So I'm confident with a score of a 9 for your problem. Here's where things get a little sticky though. The solution, I'm going to be honest, we're going to have to take that score from a 9 all the way down to a 1. I'm going to have to give your solution a score of a 1. There's 2 specific reasons that I need to give it that score. The first one is what you are is a data aggregator. You are taking data from multiple different places and putting it into one single spot. Now, that is something that is the most widely commoditized thing that AI does, not only natively, but any other startup is trying to do, because they think now that I can just wrap ChatGPT, I can be the single spot that everybody goes to for X, Y, and Z. I did it when I started my very first startup. It was Golf Trotter. I was trying to become the single place that people would go to find golf trips. Nowadays, you can hop on ChatGPT, ask it a simple prompt. You can challenge it by asking it to ask you extra questions about whether your group size, what your group likes to do. It's going to build more context and give you an answer that's very specific to you, all within a workflow and a platform you're already familiar with or becoming more familiar with, which is ChatGPT. For $20 a month, ChatGPT can do a lot of what you need. And that is going to be very hard to compete against from a solution standpoint. So that's the first piece in terms of why I have to give it a 1. The second one is a real world example of how I've solved this problem myself. So like I said a couple times by now, I've had the same issue. What I did was you had a tool listed in your website called Cursor. And what Cursor is, for anybody who doesn't know, is it's a software platform, software building platform, for lack of better words, that basically allows the ChatGPT agent like LLM to connect directly in to that software building platform. And it can then just build all the software for you. So you prompt it and you say, hey, I want to build this and this. It can ask you questions, etc. Then just start building away and writing the code. You can switch it into ask mode, which allows you to just literally just ask it questions and talk to it in a conversational way like you are with ChatGPT. But it knows all the context of what you've already built and what you're trying to build based off of the code base that you're working within. You can then switch it into a different mode rather, called plan mode, which allows it to basically create a plan to say, okay, here's the things I've been talking to you about. You've already built all this. You already know that. I now want you to build me a plan that's going to take me from here to here. Write the whole plan out, switch it back into agent mode. It's then going to act on that plan and start building it exactly to the specs that you guys just discussed. So it's building its context, it's building its plan, and then it's going and it's actually building the product. It's going to stop at the places that it needs your input in. So if it's, hey, I want to create a backend database for this to store all the data that's going to be coming in, help me build it. Writes the plan out, starts acting on it. It then will stop and say, okay, all you need to do is go to this website. Here's a link, click the link, takes you there. Create an account, you create the account, give me these API credentials, you grab them, throw them in your code base, and boom, it's connected and it's done. And that is very, very hard to compete against. So unfortunately, again, we're gonna have to give it a solution of a 1. Now, opportunity. There's opportunities out there. Like I said, people are building more and more with these tools. And so there's gonna be new tools that are out there. People are gonna figure out which ones work for them, but then there's gonna be new ones that come around. And so they have to continue to figure out which ones are going to solve the specific things that their product is set out to do and build and make. And so there's certain ones that are going to fit certain use cases better. And so all that to say, there's going to be more and more people out there that are going to be in this bucket. So your target audience is going to get wider. How scalable it is very hard because of the defensibility or lack thereof. So there's really nothing defensible here in what you have. You don't have any social influence. Like I said, you had 10 reviews. And you don't have any specific workflow embedded that is in line with what they're already doing. They have to stop their existing workflow to go find you. You have to figure out a way to get in that middle of that workflow and wedge yourself in there so that way you become something that's hard to replace and rip out, because then it becomes more painful to not have you than to have you. And so I think the opportunity is there in terms of how large of a market it can be, but I don't think that based off the solution and how scalable your idea is, that it's I can give you a solid score. I'm going to put it around a 4. I'm going to put that opportunity score at a 4. So again, but I think that there's things that you can do to improve on that. So to recap, what we have is a problem score of a 9. I think is a problem. I think a lot of people don't know what they don't know, and something out there needs to be able to show them what they don't know in an easy, seamless way. Based off of that, the solutions that are out there do that in a very solid way. And because of that, comparing it to your solution, I have to give you a 1 there. And then again, the opportunity, what we're looking at from an opportunity standpoint, it's going to be a wide market, but it's not very scalable in how you set it up right now. You're getting money off of affiliate links, I can tell, based off of the affiliate flags on some of these products and platforms that you have listed here. So what I'm gonna have to do is give that one again a 4. So where are we at with this? Do we build it? Do we pass on it? Or do we pivot? I don't think it's complete trash. I really don't. I think that you have something here because again, I think the problem is there, but I think you have to pivot if you want any sort of defensibility or any sort of scale on a product like this. I think it comes in one of 2 ways. I think you can focus on A, being the thing that's going to automate that step between connecting to the workflow that they're already in and to that new product or platform, right? So how that would look is, in the example I gave, Cursor was able to tell me, okay, these are the things, this is the product that you should use, this is the plan you should pick. But then it was up to me to go pick that plan, set up my account, and then create the project and then provide it the keys back. If you're able to figure out a way with a lot of these companies who may not have MCP servers, which is basically like a translation layer, a connection layer to allow the agent that you're working with to automatically do the things. If you can figure out some of these companies that don't have that built and build some sort of pseudo MCP server that makes that connection automatic and seamless, I think that you might have something there because you're cutting down on the manual task and honestly some points of error that could occur, which makes things more painful if the user doesn't know what they're doing and they don't know how to set it up correctly. If you're able to automate that connection to allow the agent to just continue doing all the magical things that it does seamlessly without asking them to go to this site and set the things up like it does in its current flow, I think that you have something there. But the window here is tiny. It's a very small window. I think that a lot of these companies are going to have these things already, but there's going to be some that don't. And if they don't, there's going to have to be something in there that, think of it like Stripe, but for MCP servers. That would be a cool idea. The second option that you have in terms of defensibility to make this actually sticky or have some credibility and some weight in terms of why somebody would want to interrupt their existing workflow to go find you, you have to have some sort of social, some herd mentality, right? So you have to have some way of being able to allow people or persuade people rather to come to you because you have information and insights and ideas and feedback from a community or some community of people that are like industry experts, right? There has to have some social influence there and you need to be able to put your stamp on it. So people need to see this is backed by Hackerstack, right? If that flag is there, then that's going to be a really trusted, well-known product, but you're not going to get there with 10 reviews. So you can either focus on 1, the automation between the connection point of what it is you're already working on and what you're trying to integrate with, or 2, really focus on getting people to back this platform on a social level. So that way you get that herd mentality going. So with that said, I think this startup audit, I think we go with a pivot on this idea. I think it has some legs, but it's not going to work in the existing state that it's in. So with that said, Jake, thank you very much for being our first submission. If you would like your idea audited, please submit it to thestartupaudit@gmail.com. We are going through reviews or reviewing your requests and going through them on a weekly basis. So if you want your idea featured here, go ahead and submit it to that email address. We'll take a look at it and feature it on a future video. So thank you for tuning into this one. This has been a successful startup audit. Peace.